Hi, I'm Jenny Gadbois, and we're standing outside of Club Pilates, a new Pilates studio in Encinitas. I am a Pilates teacher as well as a yoga teacher and a nutritionist, and I teach classes here several days a week. And if you don't know much about Pilates, it's a great discipline to help balance out your muscles, to basically make you hopefully a better surfer and athlete and just a healthier person in general. But today what we're going to do is we're going to be outside because it's beautiful and we want it to be close to the ocean. So we're going to go down by the water and I'm going to show you a couple of restorative poses that are yoga poses to help loosen up your body after a long surfing session. So let's go down to the beach. Give yourself about 15 minutes after your surf session to find a spot on the sand and do these 3 postures that are going to help to unwind the neck, the shoulders, the spine, and the hips. You'll need a towel or a blanket if you don't want your cushion to get sandy. Otherwise, you can just put your cushion right down in the sand. And the first one is called the butterfly pose. So in the butterfly pose, I recommend that you elevate your hips, so elevate your buttocks by sitting on a cushion. And then it's not a tight little diamond, so don't pull your heels in too close to the body. Let your heels be out in front of you so you have a little bit more space here. And you're not going to pull yourself deeply into this stretch. You're simply going to allow your spine to gently curve. And the weight of the head is going to provide a deep stretch for the back of the neck, and then let your hands or your arms just come down to rest naturally. So don't grab your feet and try and pull yourself deeper. Instead, what you're going to do here for the next several minutes is attempt to let go of all the muscular tension in your body and simply let your bones find their way to this gently curved shape. And one of the things that you can do while you're in this posture is you can notice where you're hanging on to tension. So you can notice if you're holding on to tension in your shoulders. And when you notice that, just breathe into that area of the body and allow that part of your body to soften. You can do the same thing through your back, and particularly in the belly. Notice if you're drawing your stomach in and just let your stomach relax. A way to breathe that helps support relaxation in the body is to breathe in and out through the nose. And of course, in this posture, while you're breathing in and out through your nose, you'll also have an opportunity to drain any water that you took in while you were surfing. Some of us aren't very good at holding still for minutes at a time, and if you know that about yourself, I would recommend that you set your watch to 2 minutes so that it'll simply ding and tell you when it's time to come out of the posture. Otherwise, just let yourself stay here for as long as you comfortably can. And what you'll notice as your muscles begin to relax is your posture is going to change slightly. Your chin might round a little bit more into your throat. You might find it's more comfortable to reach your arms out further. Or instead, you might actually find that the stretch is really, really intense for the back of your neck, in which case you might actually need to put your hands underneath your forehead and help to support your head a little bit if the back of your neck has never been stretched like this. So this should not be an exercise in excruciating pain. It should be exactly the opposite. It should be something that helps you to release. Now, once you've stayed in here for a while, when you're coming out, take your time. Don't rush out of it. So just slowly begin to unwind and let your head be the very last thing that comes up out of the posture. And just take a moment to sit with your spine erect before we go into the second posture, which is a variation of Supta Baddha Konasana, or bound angle pose. So here now we come off of the cushion, and the cushion remains behind the spine, behind the buttocks. The feet still remain wide. The spacing between the legs is wide and the heels are together. You're going to very carefully lower yourself back, and then let your arms find their way down to the ground. Now, if your neck is really tight, your head might not touch the ground, in which case you need to make a little sand pillow so that your head is not hanging from your neck. You want your head to touch the ground. And then start to scan the body and just notice where you're habitually hanging on to tension. So notice your legs. Let the legs relax and soften. Again, notice the belly. And work your way up to the chest. Now, if you've never stretched your chest, your pectoral lines deeply, your arms might be off the ground, in which case straighten out your arms a little bit more so the backs of the hands are touching the ground. And very slowly, you'll find that more of your arms will eventually come into contact with the ground. You can try cactus arm position while you're here. You could even wrap your hands around the opposite elbows. This is probably the most intense stretch for the shoulders. So the idea is not to move your arms around while you're in the pose, but rather just explore each of the three options and find one that fits you on this day when you're stretching, and then stay there. So the feeling here in the body is the front side of the body is being deeply opened. And of course your low back does get compressed when you're surfing, so we are kind of revisiting a position that the body experiences on the board, but it's different because there's no muscular engagement here, so everything gets to relax and soften. One thing that might happen is your arms might start to tingle, your hands might go numb. You can just let that happen, or if it bothers you, you can release your arms and bring them more out to a cactus arm position. But the tighter you are in the chest, the more nerve bundles you may have that are kind of trapped in that tension, so it might be inevitable that you experience some numbness in your hands when you're in this posture. So the neck is in kind of a vulnerable position when you come out of this posture. So what I would recommend when you're ready to exit is to put your hands on top of your head and help your chin to roll into your chest. Use your stomach muscles to get you started, and then bring your hands to the mat and press yourself all the way up. The third and final posture that we're going to work on is a twist. It's called twisted root. And you may want to keep the cushion with you. You may not want the cushion, but I'll talk about how it might be useful for you. So come to lying on your back. Just put the cushion off to the side for a moment. You're going to cross your right leg over your left, and then to hook your right foot under your left calf, you may have to lift your left foot off the ground and then put your feet back down. Okay? Bring your arms out into a nice big T. Shift your hips slightly over to the right, and then begin to twist your hips to the left as you twist your upper spine and your head to the right. Okay? And here, where the cushion might be helpful in the beginning, is you can use the cushion to support your knee while you get your upper body a little bit more deeply wound into the twist. The twist is my favorite because the whole time that you're here, you can feel your body tension changing. So 10 seconds ago, the cushion was a good idea under my knee, but now it's in the way of me stretching more deeply. So I'm going to move the cushion out from under my knee. Now I'm not trying to get my knees down to the ground, and I'm not trying to keep my right shoulder on the ground, because if I were to do that, I would have to use my muscles, and I want to soften. So instead, what I do are things like take my left hand and place it on my right leg to guide my knee down towards the ground. But again, it doesn't have to come down to the ground. I'm just looking for a feeling of a deeper stretch. Let your head really turn to the side so that your neck can get stretched out. Now you can change what you're doing with your extended right arm. You could raise it up a little bit to intensify the stretch through your pectorals. You could even bring your arm all the way up next to your head and turn your head in the opposite direction. You might find that you've got some tension stored up here that releases when you completely alter that twist. That makes it much more about the upper body, and you don't feel it as much in the lower body. So if you want to work on the lower body, the SI joint and the lower spine, keep your arm out to the side and keep your head twisted and use your hand to pull yourself down. And then stay here for 2 to 5 minutes, however much time you have for the twist, but at least 2 minutes. And then slowly let yourself unwind back to the center and uncross your legs. Just take your time. Reposition your hips in the center of your mat, and then cross your left leg over your right. Shift your hips slightly to the side, arms out in a big T, and let yourself enter that twist in the opposite direction. Be mindful of what you're doing with your thighs. So although your legs are wrapped around each other, see if you can relax the muscles in your legs. And just let your legs be a nice dead weight that's slowly opening up the SI joint, the sacroiliac joint on the back of the spine. You might also be getting a really deep stretch where the femur joins the hip socket. Reaching my arm out to the left on this side is a far more intense stretch than it was on the right side. In fact, it's borderline excruciating, so I want to back off of that a little bit so that I can stay relaxed. That's the key. But what's interesting is if I go to that variation with my arm up and I turn my head, I feel nothing on this side. And on the other side, I feel a really intense stretch. So we're different on both sides. So adjust the posture to work for your unique asymmetries. And then after your time has elapsed, just slowly and gently bring yourself back to the center. Unwind your body. So those 3 postures are technically yoga postures, and they're a specific type of yoga called yin yoga. So yin yoga is a way to provide a balance to the more active, dynamic things that we do in our life, which you would call yang activities. So surfing is a yang activity, and a strenuous yoga practice or Pilates practice is a yang activity. And everything in life needs balance. So what those 3 postures are intended to do is to help bring in some balance. And anyone can do them. You're not prohibited by being old or young or male or female or heavy or thin. Anyone can do those things and should do those things to balance out what's happening out here so that you can do it for your whole entire life. You can reach me through Club Pilates, which is in Encinitas. You can also reach me through my own website, which is serenityinsport.net. And there's an email address and phone number there for you to contact me. So I hope to hear from you. Namaste.